Hey, the only thing that's stopping you from becoming that version of you that you want to be is your unwillingness to go through that adversity that you're facing. Every time that you go through adversity, whether it be financial, whether it be at your job, whether it be in a relationship, whether it be, with yourself emotionally in life, every time that you're unwilling to go through that adversity and you run to the vices, you're telling God and you're telling yourself that you are not ready to step into who He created you to be. Because I'm telling you, if every single time you didn't run to the vices and you actually went through it and sat with it and carried on with your life and went through the emotions of it, went through the pain of it, went through the discomfort of it, and allowed it to mold you, you would actually evolve. That's the very thing that's going to cause you to evolve. Without that pain, without that discomfort, without that adversity, you would not change. You would not be forced to reckon with yourself and say, oh, okay, this is the version of me that's not serving me. This part that's complaining, this part that wants to cling to the vices, this part that wants to run and avoid whatever it is that I'm going through. That's the very part of you, bro, that has to go. And it goes if you allow it. That's the thing. You have to allow that process to take place. You have to endure it. And the only way that you endure it is by going through it. Is by not running to the vices, not caving when times get tough and wanting to put the blame on someone else, or avoid it at all costs and go and distract yourself with the drinking, the drugs, the porn, the junk food, the social circles, the partying, the bars, the clubs. Like, those are the things that are so empty. I mean, it's like, what are you really going there for? What are you doing those things for? You're only doing it to alleviate that pain that you're feeling. And I'm telling you, conflict avoided is conflict multiplied. So you think that, you're escaping it in the moment, but it's meeting you on the back end so much further down the road that you can't even comprehend. You don't understand, but you're in this cycle of thinking that it's going to solve the problem, but it just never goes away. And that's the thing. That's when it leads to the major discomfort, the major pain, to where you don't have a choice at that point. But maybe that's the point that everyone has to get to. Maybe that's the point that everyone has to get to, is that rock bottom, where you're at a place where you can't run anymore. You get to a place where you're like, I can't keep drinking, man. Can't keep going to this bar. Can't keep, seeing this girl, that's just full of emptiness, or doing these drugs or whatever it is. You're going to have to get to a point where you say, you know what? There's got to be something else for me. There's got to be a better life for me. I mean, there's got to be more to this life than just this. And I'm telling you, there is. There's a life for you that you can't even fathom right now. But if you would just start overcoming your lower self, start overcoming that old version of you, the ego, that once loved to do all those things that were actually just draining you and leaving you empty, if you can overcome that part of yourself, there's a completely new life on the other side of it. But you have to go through that process. And I'm telling you, you're going to have to go through a death. The relationship that you're in may change. The people that you're around may change. The vices that you engage in are going to change. The job that you have may change. I mean, you may go into a completely new life. And it'll be as if you lived an old life. Like, oh yeah, you look back at that life and you say, oh yeah, I once lived like that. But that's not me anymore. And you actually look at it like, I can't even believe that was ever me. It doesn't even feel like it was ever me. Because it wasn't. You're a completely different self. You're a completely different version of you. But that's life. Dude, that's life. That's the greatest thing in life. If you can go through that process and step into that completely new existence, you'll really know what life is all about. And that shit is heavy. And now you'll have compassion for others, because you'll know what people go through in this life. And you go through a complete death of the old you, but it births the new you, and the new you is 100 times, 1,000 times greater than that old version of you. But that's the path. It's only going to come through that pain, through that discomfort, through removing the ego and removing all the things that you once clung to. And you don't give yourself those options anymore to engage in those things. And when you don't give yourself an option anymore, now you start to go through it. And that's the greatest process that can take place, because you are being refined. You are being molded perfectly for what it is that you desire, into the version of you that you desire. But you have to endure that process. That fire is the greatest thing that can take place. I know it sucks. I know it's hard. Sometimes you want to cry, and it's like, why am I feeling like this right now? There's nothing that's causing me to feel like this. It's being done to you. Your soul is going through it. So allow it. And know that on the other side, as you come out of that, something greater is on the other side. And he will show you the vision. He will show you the vision as you start to evolve, as you start to remove the vices, as you start to remove the lower self and do the daily habits that I teach, and you start to elevate, you start to align with your higher self. That's when the vision starts to become clear to you, because you've removed so much of yourself. Now you can actually see what already exists within you. It existed within you the whole time. Jeremiah 1:5, before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I set you apart. He already wrote the vision for you. You just have to align with it.